and with my colleagues. Thank you for being here in support. This Sunday, we will gather together across the country to celebrate Mother's Day. And I suspect my Republican colleagues will take to social media with plenty of well wishes for America's moms. But those words will ring painfully hollow, because at every turn, the MAGA Republican majority has used its power to endanger the rights, the security, and the lives of American moms and families. Instead of building a stronger, safer America, the House GOP is rolling back reproductive freedom, taking food off of kitchen tables, gutting childcare, and allowing weapons of war to flood into our communities. This Mother's Day, because of their extreme agenda, moms will have to worry about choosing between groceries and childcare. Women will have to worry that politicians are managing their health care, not their doctor. Moms will get ready to send their kids to school on Monday, terrified it might be the last time. Today, we are going to hear from 4 women who have joined us to share their stories. We will hear firsthand what the GOP's assault on mom mean at the kitchen table, in the hospital room, and in their kids' classrooms. House Democrats are grateful to each and every one of them for being here and for sharing their stories. We are proud to stand with them in the fight to put women and families front and center in Washington. First, it is my pleasure to introduce Amanda Zurawski of Austin, Texas. Amanda has drawn on extraordinary courage to share the story about her near-death encounter with the Texas abortion ban. I, like Amanda, once suffered a miscarriage that required an abortion to prevent a fatal infection, but I was able to get the care that I needed without delay. But Amanda learned what happens when politicians get between women and their doctors. We thank you and look forward to hearing from Amanda. Thank you so much, Amanda, for joining us.
Thank you, Congresswoman, for having me, and thank you, everyone, for being here. My name is Amanda Zurawski, and I'm here today to tell you about my experience with the restrictive anti-abortion laws in Texas. In August 2022, while Central Texans were complaining about the late summer heat wave, I was blissfully unaware of anything that wasn't baby-related. I was just shy of 18 weeks pregnant with my first baby, who had been conceived after 18 months of grueling fertility treatment. My husband Josh and I were over the moon with excitement. But then everything changed in an instant. I experienced unexpected symptoms and was quickly diagnosed with a condition called cervical insufficiency. Josh and I were told in no uncertain terms that we were going to lose our baby, Willow. I asked what could be done to ensure the respectful passing of our baby and to protect me now that my body was unprotected and vulnerable. I needed an abortion. My healthcare team was anguished as they explained there was nothing they could do because of Texas's anti-abortion laws. It meant that even though we would, with complete certainty, lose Willow, my doctors didn't feel safe to intervene as long as her heart was beating or until I was sick enough for the ethics board at the hospital to consider my life at risk, because abortion is illegal in Texas unless the pregnant person is facing a life-threatening physical condition. People have asked why we didn't travel to another state, but we live in the middle of Texas and the nearest sanctuary state is at least an 8-hour drive. Developing sepsis, like I did, a condition that can kill in under an hour, in a car in the middle of the West Texas desert or in an airplane, is a death sentence. And it's not a choice we should have even had to consider in the first place. So all we could do was wait. For days, I was locked in this bizarre and avoidable hell. Would Willow's heart stop, or would I deteriorate to the brink of death? The answer came 3 long days later. In a matter of minutes, I developed chills and chattering teeth so violent I couldn't complete a sentence. I was in septic shock, and after Josh rushed me to the hospital, I spent 3 days in the ICU and another 3 days in a less critical unit. My vitals crashed twice, and I received a blood transfusion. After days of attempting to stabilize my blood pressure and temperature, I was finally able to go home. But the damage was done, and we're still grappling to fully understand the permanent impact this trauma had on my body, my fertility, and the lives of my future babies. The worst part? It was all avoidable. What I needed was an abortion, a standard medical procedure. An abortion would have prevented the unnecessary harm and suffering that I endured. I'm the best case version of this story. I have a supportive husband and an employer that allowed me to take time off. We live close to several healthcare facilities and have great health insurance. I don't have other children for whom I needed to find care. What about the women who don't have the same resources I had? What will happen to them? And so it's for all the other women who are pregnant or who may become pregnant that I speak out. It is for all of us who have moms, who are moms, for those of us who still want to become moms, that I stand and I fight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amanda. And our next speaker, Karen George, is a mother of two from Garrett County, Maryland. She's a former participant in the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children, otherwise known as WIC. Now she works to connect other moms in her community with this vital program, a life-changing resource that Republicans just voted to gut. Karen, the podium is yours. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Congresswoman, for having me. It's an honor to stand here before you today and speak about WIC. For nearly 50 years, WIC has been the premier public health program serving the nation's most vulnerable population, women, infants, and children. Offering nutritious foods, breastfeeding support, and nutrition education. WIC has one mission, that is to protect the health and well-being of the families around this country. WIC works. Not only do I say that as a WIC employee, but I have experienced firsthand as a former WIC participant that WIC works. In the summer of 2013, I gave birth to my oldest son. And going into pregnancy leading up to the day he arrived, I kept thinking to myself, I got this. But when my son wouldn't latch, WIC was there with breastfeeding support. When I needed to cry as I navigated new parenthood, WIC was there. WIC staff were there for me when I found out that I had severe postpartum depression and held my hand, provided me resources, and assured me that I was not a terrible mother. WIC is so much more than a nutrition program. We are a listening ear, cheerleaders, and a support system to the families that we served. With the proposed budget cuts, WIC would have to reintroduce waiting lists, which we have not seen since the 1990s. Waiting lists would leave over 250,000 eligible moms and children without the health benefits that WIC provides. Waiting lists would have serious impacts on postpartum women across the country, but especially in rural America. Many hospitals and birthing centers in rural America are beginning to close, leaving some families having to travel over an hour to the closest hospital. In these areas, WIC is an extension to healthcare providers, and we can make referrals to their provider or host a telehealth appointment with their doctor right there in the WIC office or vice versa. Waiting lists would leave many young children without WIC. As we know, children who participate in WIC are more likely to have regular wealth child checks. We cannot leave these kids without access to our nation's public health and healthcare system. WIC helps to improve the health of children throughout adulthood. It is a privilege watching the families I serve grow and flourish. When participants thank me at the end of an appointment, what they do not know is I am thankful for them, thankful that they have allowed me to be a part of their family's story, even if it is just for a short time. We cannot leave these families without access to WIC. This Mother's Day, let's show moms we actually care about them and their babies and ensure continued access to WIC. Thank you again for allowing me to be here today to advocate for the WIC program.
Thank you so much. And our next guest is Cynthia Davis. She is a mom and a child care provider right here in Washington, D.C. Cynthia runs Kings and Queens Child Care Center. She currently serves as executive director of the D.C. Family Child Care Association, and she knows firsthand the difference that high quality, affordable, accessible childcare can make, not just for a child, but on a mom, on the entire family, and on an entire community. And she knows the consequences of playing politics with this kind of vital resource. So we bring to the podium Cynthia. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cynthia Davis. They gave me a mic. And I'm the executive director of the DC Family Child Care Association and the founder and CEO of Kings and Queens Child Care Center, located in the nation's capital. I operate a 23-hour program providing care before 7 a.m. and after 6 p.m., in which the majority serve essential workers and single-parent households. We also help low-income families, children experiencing differing abilities, homelessness, and private pay. I'm a proud mom of 3, and one of the reasons I became a family child care teacher, also known as a home-based child care educator, was to provide care for parents like me that needed child care during non-traditional hours. There are not many child care facilities providing care during off-peak hours. For example, I parent drives from Southeast DC to Northwest where I live, for quality, affordable child care. Moreover, I know that this parent is experiencing this, then affordable childcare is needed for many parents in other states. Childcare is still incredibly difficult to find, even for families that can't afford it. Parents should have access to quality, affordable childcare in their neighborhoods. Running a family childcare business is difficult when there are many pay disparities. Even though I have degrees, we are paid less than our colleagues in child development centers, DC public and charter schools. Many of these programs include, but are not limited to, child care subsidy and the CACFP program, the Child and Adult Food Program. When the pandemic pushed the economy to its limits, bringing government assistance, my program flourished for the first time since we opened our doors. I could pay a minimum wage to my staff and finally for myself. Without support and funding, our child care crisis will continue. Cut child care funding would be incredibly harmful to families and small businesses like mine. Many parents I have worked with rely on subsidy to afford high quality child care. Their children are better set up for success by being able to afford child care. The first 5 years are when a child's brain develops the fastest and when they learn critical social and emotional and academic skills. They need to be ready for kindergarten so they don't fail or don't fall far behind. Later, the proposed funding cuts will mean 200,000 children would lose access to Head Start and 100,000 children would lose access to child care. This is unacceptable. We must invest in child care, not defund it, because our future depends on it. Young children are our future, and we must contribute to their success. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. House Whip Katherine Clark, and all of you. Thank you so much to support my cause.
Our final speaker is a mom who knows far, far too well how inaction here has a direct and devastating impact on families across the country. Patricia Oliver lost her son, Joaquin, to the 2018 mass shooting in Parkland, Florida. In the years since, she and her husband, Manny, have summoned the unimaginable strength in the wake of an inconceivable loss. She is one of the nation's most outspoken and effective gun safety advocates, and it is a privilege to welcome her here today.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Patricia Oliver. I am Joaquin's mom. My dear son had an incredible personality. I want you to know a little bit about him because you already know what happened to my dear. He had an incredible personality, energy, and love for life. He was on his way to make a real impact in this world before. His life was senselessly and unavoidably cut short at 17 years old. Always the life of the party, Joaquin was the most vibrant person in every room. He loved to laugh and wasn't shy or quiet about it. If you were lucky enough to know him, he made you feel special and loved. He had your back. Everywhere he went, he touched someone's heart and had a special bond with each one of them. He always stood up for what was right and fair. Always wanted to make people laugh. He joked constantly and made fun of petty things. He was incredibly loyal and devoted to his family, friends, and girlfriend. Joaquin always did his best to be there for everyone and be the best friend and best boyfriend he could be. As a son, he was exceedingly kind, warm, and persistent in what he wanted to accomplish. His purpose was to be big and learn as much as possible to create a better world and a space for everyone. He always looked after others. He loved playing basketball and the Miami Heat. He was Dwayne Wade's biggest fan. Always wanted to share his time with others. He always looked for company when he grabbed a meal or watched a game. As a little boy, Joaquin was incredibly curious. At 3 years old, he would ask me what was written on the back of every cereal box and Happy Meal. He couldn't wait to learn to read. At bedtime, I would always read to him. His favorite book was 101 Dalmatians. As he grew up, he developed a passion for writing, passionate, poetic, and impactful. He poured his heart and personality onto page. When he reflects on all he's written, the meanings goes much deeper than expected. Joaquin wanted to be recognized as a friendly and sensitive human. Even after 5 years, I still heard new stories of how his presence impacted so many people. He was wise beyond his years. We can all learn something from Joaquin. Not a day goes by without us deeply missing him so much. Now, everything we do is for him. Now, we're trying to make a difference in this world that he was going to make. This Mother's Day, as a mother who lost my son at a school shooting, my mission is to honor Joaquin. Memory and ensure that other mothers don't experience the tragedy and pain of having their child murdered. Our new book, Joaquin's First School Shooting, tells Joaquin's story through powerful, simple words and illustrations. Written and illustrated as a children's book, it looks like one of you will find in a first grade classroom. Once you read it, you realize it is a haunting account of the terrible reality of gun violence and its impact in the United States. Joaquin was an innocent kid who cared and lived out of his dreams. Through this book, his spirit lives on. We know we could be passionately fighting alongside us to help solve the gun violence epidemic in this country. This book is a call to action to ban assault rifles. Maybe Joaquin can get inside the hearts of politicians and help them understand the horrendous moments he went through on February 14th. Joaquin was in his creative writing class, writing a poem for his girlfriend, when a gunman opened fire. He was shot 4 times. And if you see in the book, I always relate the holes besides the book that is related to kids. Every time you open the page, you will see 4 holes. And that, to me personally, reminds those awful moments that Joaquin went through. Children are being killed by gun violence at an unprecedented rate. Solutions are there. Politicians just need to stand up, take action, and do what is right. Thank you so much for listening. And I'm sorry that there's so many more moms that they won't be able to spend this Mother's Day with their kids. This pain never goes away. Thank you.
Thank you to Amanda, Karen, Cynthia, and Patricia. Thank you to my colleagues who are here in solidarity, to our entire Democratic caucus who stands with these moms. From reproductive freedom and food security to childcare and gun safety, all of your experiences point to one common theme: a MAGA assault on moms. This Mother's Day, moms don't need empty words from politicians. They need leaders who will stand up for what counts. Public officials who will do their jobs, fight for safer communities, for freedom and for opportunity. Representatives who will put their constituents and their families above all else. That's what moms want. That's what moms deserve. Thank you all for being a part of this. Thank you. Amazing. Questions? We have time for some questions, if there are any.
Obviously, to implement some of these policies, Democrats are probably going to take back the House. So I'm curious about sort of how important it is. I mean, as far as attracting women, getting women to vote to the ballot box in 2024, can you talk about that angle and what Democrats are trying to do to reach out to that specific group of voters?
Yeah, as you can see from the stories that are here, the real impact on people's lives, devastating loss, whether it's the loss of Willow, Karen's journey, and what it means to have WIC programs, not only for that nutrition, but for those supports, childcare, and the economic link, as well as unlocking a child's future. And for the memory of Joaquin and all of the children and families impacted by gun violence, women in this country understand whose side Democrats are on, and it's theirs. And we are talking about fundamental freedom. Freedom to make your own healthcare decisions with your doctor, not with the politician in your state house or here in DC. Freedom to be able to feed and nurture your children. Freedom to have childcare that you need to be able to unlock your child's potential and go to work knowing your child is in a safe and nurturing place, and freedom to send your child to school not fearing they will never come home. We've seen it play out just this weekend in Texas, where little 6-year-old William Cho went on a shopping mall trip with his family and came home with no one. His parents were killed and his little brother. All of these themes are together, and people in this country understand we have to combat extremism. We will do everything we can as members of the House Democratic Caucus to stand up here in Washington, and we know that we will be joined by women and families across this country in 2024. Thank you. Thank you all.